Alright, the honeymoon's over. It's over. It's been a few months. Game's been out for a while. Patch 1.06 has launched. We now have much better invasion ranges and co-op ranges. It's nice. I know I'm loving it. I'm getting invasions left and right. I'm getting co-op summons left and right. It seems to have cured me of my weird issue with figuring out the right matchmaking procedure for level versus reinforcement range. I was trying a few different things over the course of the last few months, and some days I just would get no kind of action despite what the map would say about who was summoning where. But now it seems like an old problem. So that's really good. These patches have been good. The point of this video mainly is to talk about things that I don't think patches alone could really cure. And what I really mean is DLC stuff. Actual assets, actual content added to the game, new items, new weapons, new counters to old weapons and items. That sort of thing. And I think one of the biggest things that will help us is improved or expanded multiplayer components. Mainly I mean covenants. Now, Miyazaki, the guy who we all know, went on record, you can read his interview in old magazines before the game came out, I forget which sources, but he was pretty open about saying how he intended for the covenant system to be limited in Elden Ring and simplified rather for the users playing the game. For someone who's playing a big game like this, I'm starting to see the holes in that for the long term. At the beginning I thought it was cool, it was what was happening with the Dark Souls games, things were getting simplified. But as I play this game more and more, I'm thinking we need more Covenant stuff, especially for the New Game Plus players. By the way, this footage is not from patch 1.06, this is older footage from when I first started invading. I'll show some newer clips later of more recent invasions, but anyway, Covenants, let's talk Covenants. What do I mean by that when I say Covenants? I know some people are probably new to Elden Ring, this is their first From game, they don't know what the Covenant system was, but basically it's what the Volcano Manor is, it's what Vare's questline is, it's part of the game that's optional, where you can get some online multiplayer items and unique stuff for online play, as well as having unique bosses and things to do in the main game as well. And then Dark Souls 1 introduced this to us. Demon Souls didn't have it, but Dark Souls 1 did. Dark Souls 2 probably had the most versatile Covenant system, in my opinion. There were just a lot of good choices there. They were just locked behind Dark Souls 2, the game. So take that for what you will. I like Dark Souls 2, but I don't return to it as much as some of the other games. Bloodborne also had Covenants, a little bit more rigid, where there was a moral aspect to them. So if you were trying to play with your buddy in co-op, but he had joined a certain covenant that was opposed to what your character was doing, you'd probably be fighting each other upon entering the game rather than helping, which was sort of a cool dynamic to do. And then Dark Souls 3 really simplified it even more, which is why I'm really happy that we have a full area like Volcano Manor with a whole shard bearer that's unique, with a rune that's unique. Same thing with Vare's quest line, although not to the same extent. I think if we're going forward with the DLC, what this game needs for the long term is some more Covenant options to pad out the multiplayer experience. So mostly I've been doing a lot of co-op. I enjoy co-op in this game, and doing co-op a lot with my cohort, Joelinton MD. We usually will stick to a certain level and sort of, I don't know, just enjoy wandering the game world, questing with our little role plays, and on occasion we'll get invaded, we'll fight the invaders. In Liurnia here, I've noticed something, especially at this level. Well, my character right here is not the host, I'm a cooperator. I'm at level 50 at plus 7, I want to say. Yeah, 50 plus 7. And what I've noticed co-oping and questing through the Liurnia areas, we get a lot of invaders who come in who are pretty much doing the Vare quest line. And what I mean by that is you'll get people who come in and it seems like it's probably their first or second time invading. It's still fun, you know. A lot of them will come in, run up, and just immediately die. Some people will come in and immediately leave since they read on Reddit that the quest line simply needs to be, you simply need to invade and not necessarily follow through. So we do have a lot of that happening in Liurnia, but we do have a lot of players who come in and by doing the quest line with Vare, they get their first taste of the invasion mechanic. So we try to give them a fun romp of it. This player, however, is not one of those players. This is Blade of Maya. This guy invaded us after a string of maybe 4 or 5 in a row of the Vare quest types. So when Blade of Maya came in, we weren't really ready for a player on this level, and he clearly knows his stuff. And you can see I'm having to throw out different weapons and using a lot of consumables, and we're having a bit of a marathon with him. He's handling our 2v1 pretty good. In a minute in here, we're going to be having a bear join the party because we goof up. This is a rare co-op session also where me and Joel were not on the microphone since when we recorded this a couple of weeks ago, his wife had COVID. And he was sneaking some Elden Ring time while she slept in the other room because he's a good husband. But you can see Blade of Maya using Flaming Strike. He's got all the right tools. He's got the right weapons. I think if we were a regular pair of people, he would probably very easily dismantle us. And if you actually watch his YouTube channel, which I'm a subscriber now since I like his stuff. It's kind of modest right now, but I can tell this player will get a bit of a following. Very high quality videos and some pretty good PvP footage if you want to give it a watch. But yeah, this guy's really good. We just we invade too, so a lot of the things he's throwing at us we have an answer for. And usually what I see at this level too is people will invade, or when I invade rather, I'll see crews who have one trick. That have one trick, where they've got the one weapon they like, the one move that they like, or invaders who come in and they'll have one weapon, and then when that doesn't work, we'll have a bit of a chase, and sometimes they'll actually leave. I'm getting a lot of people go home when they invade me, and I've had a lot of hosts jumping off cliffs in Liurnia. It's kind of a weird area to invade, but I like it. It's a very big area. There's so much ground to cover in here. But yeah, this player doesn't really do just one trick. I mean, right now he's working with the halberd because it's effective on us, I'll be honest. But he's clearly got other things at his disposal. He's prepared. He's coming in with his own arsenal. And he's got to contend with 2 players that aren't going to be pushovers. I think a one-on-one, either of us with him would have been pretty interesting if we had gotten the opportunity, but it didn't quite go that way. This is also the whole invasion. I'm pretty much snipping just some of the boring bits, but for the most part, I'm showing the whole thing here, the whole race. And we got the bear in it now, and this is a good example of what I like to get when I invade, and it's also an example of what I like to get when I'm co-oping, because I do enjoy co-oping in this game more than maybe I did in some of the other Souls games. So when I co-op, I like to have situations where invaders come in and we have these crazy drawn out situations where we're fighting enemies, the invaders wandering off, coming back, using that little bloody finger to teleport around. This is just an example of my peak interest in this game. What I think is a really good example of when it works and everything's fun. This is fun for me. And when I invade and I get the similar situation, win or lose, it's fun for me. Now, when we co-op together, we have that little white circlet on usually in efforts to pull blues into the game on the off chance we get invaded. None showed up in this particular invasion to give Blade of Maya their flasks, but usually that's how it goes down. Is some things don't change, right? Blue spirits. In this game, I don't have a lot to say about the blue summons as they are right now. That's one thing I hope gets changed if the DLC does anything. We have a fleshed out invasion covenant. We have 2 invasion covenants, but we don't really have anything for blues. I was an advocate for blues a lot in Dark Souls 3 because there's something to say when it works. When you're trying to be the Avenger, and a lone host is getting bullied by an invader, and then you come in, you get to be the hero, and you save them, and you go home, and the host gets to play his level. That's very satisfying when it works. In Dark Souls 3, it would happen, I'd say, 1 out of every 10 times I would get summoned as a blue, I would get that experience. In the first Dark Souls, you invaded if you were a blue. You'd actually invade people who were invaders. If you invaded someone in Dark Souls 1 had a sin system, so that if you had done something wrong, i.e. invade another player or kill an NPC or however it worked, blue sentinels would come in, and they would invade the people who had accrued sin. You had a whole system that if you were a host and you're playing your game and an invader came in and they ruined your fun, you could indict them, and you'd put a mark in their file, a demerit, so the police would know whose door to knock down, and it was interesting. And now, this game doesn't have solo host invasions, which I think, having played it for a few months, and now that we have the new patch, I will say, now with patch 1.06, I'm okay with it. But for people who want to have solo invasions back, and people who want the Blue Covenant to be a little more interesting than it is, I think the DLC introducing maybe some new side covenant where a blue festering gangrene finger, whatever you want to call it, let them invade the players who have sin. The game has the sin mechanic already. Muriel, the turtle pope in the Church of Vows, who tells you all about moon water or whatever the hell a celestial dew is. The mechanics in the game. Okay, I don't believe it's really well fleshed out in a game of this size. In my opinion, I feel like there's materials already on the board that can be used here to make this a little bit more interesting. Just give blues the ability to invade the bad boys and girls, and on the same token, you can have somewhat of a solo host invasion system. That's just my take. That's what I think would be good. From's gonna do what From's gonna do, but I think that would be a step in the right direction. Look at this horrible summon that I got in the middle of the Howling Tree, the worst possible location. But yeah, throw the blues a bone. Just throw them a bone. I think that would be something. Let them invade. It'd be fun. Cause this ain't fun. I'm trying. I'm really trying to do the blue stuff when I get summoned in. Usually I'll forget that I have my blue halo on, I will admit, but there's just not a lot to what this offers besides giving players a fringe taste of PvP in a safe environment with no risks, which I guess is the whole point. And if that's all they wanted it to be, that's fine. But if we're just talking and we're going along with the possibility that there'd be a new blue phantom related covenant where they get to possibly invade sinners and going along with that theme, I think it would be something to give them a good reward to incentivize players to do the new covenant. How about you give them those little moon shards or whatever they are, those little blue items that regenerate your FP? I know that A rune arcs are probably fine, and it's probably what it would be if they did do anything. But I say give them those. I don't see what the harm would be at this point. The game is several months old. I know the game has a finite amount of them, and they're supposed to be used sparingly. But if you had one covenant that was dedicated on collecting those, that'd be kind of interesting. People would want to do it. I'd even say you could continue to limit things for people, so they can phantoms could only use one per summon. That'd be fair. I mean, you can't have phantoms using rune arcs, so getting all those rune arcs as an invader doesn't really have a whole lot of purpose outside of giving you rune arcs for your playthrough if you're still actually invading and you care about that sort of thing, which is a weird take. It's a From Software thing. They always seem to forget that invaders sometimes invade last after everything else has been defeated and conquered. The last thing we do is we invade. These games are always invaders and gank parties at the last legs of their life cycle, but they keep giving the Ambers and humanity. Well, humanity made sense, but rune arcs, they don't do anything for phantoms. Maybe those shard things would. I don't know. This is the character from earlier, by the way, my invader. This is the one from the beginning of the video that has been respec'd, and this is now Invasions a la 1.06, the new patch. Thank you for From Software for having such a nice respec system available in their game. And my character was female before, and now that my character is male, this game is gender fluid. So it's very progressive From Software game, even though they still shorted all the African hairstyles. So it's it's not perfect, I guess, but no, it's a Japanese game. You got to play a good game. Just deal with it. All right. So other things we could talk about for a possible DLC. Hey, how about a vendor that sells string and golem bolts, and those magic golem bolts, and all these really rare items that are difficult to farm, and all that jazz. I would love to have a vendor that has these things. You know, this game has like dozens of crafting books, and for a lot of these books, they give you a resin-related coating for your weapon, and they give you these quick bundles, and they give you these bomb of the, like, you know, crack pot, ritual pot bombs you could throw, and there's, you know, rope bomb versions where you can throw them behind you, but they all require string. And I'll be honest with you, I've been playing this game for a while. I don't know how everyone else does it outside of duping with some friend, but I never make that many. I feel I make maybe one handful per playthrough, and then I just don't use bundles or reverse firebomb. So people must be duping things. They must have a buddy who's got everything on drop, and I guess that's one solution. So if you're saying to me it'd be pointless to have them sold now, I'm thinking of the player that just wants to play the game. There's no vendor option for some of these things. I didn't even see the Golem Magic Great Arrow until June. Not even. I think it was even July. I didn't know they were in the game until one was dropped for me. So that's something I would like the DLC to deal with, please. Is just give us a vendor. If the DLC is a late game entry point, fine. Just give us somewhere to buy all this stuff. That might be it, really. I can't think of anything else the game really needs besides just some new weapons and some new Ashes of War to counter things. I will tell you that there's probably a few things of my own that I wish had been thought of a little bit better at the beginning before launch happened, but it's definitely filed in the too late now drawer. I think one of them is just player trades, and what I mean by that is whether I'm co-oping or I'm invading, in a single game session, when I encounter 20 hosts that are wearing their starting gear, and they have buddies with them, and they're level 40 or 50 in Liurnia the Lakes, but they're holding Rivers of Blood in their starting samurai gear, I don't know. I think an oversight was made. This game is very generous with item drops. You know, I didn't even realize until recently that you could drop Ashes of War. This game lets you drop Ashes of War. That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. Now, I'm going to go on a bit of a mini rant here. It's kind of a hot take, and I know it's probably not a popular opinion. I subscribe to the Bloodborne school of thought, where I think Bloodborne was fantastic. You couldn't do item drops for other players in Bloodborne. Every single person that played Bloodborne who wanted to make a cool build had to start a character. They had to play through the game, get all the items, earn all the items, fight all the bosses. You could summon help from people to help you do these things. But in some cases, you had to go into dungeons, and it was pretty involved. If I made a new Bloodborne character, that was a whole day of just planning and getting things together, and I loved it. I loved playing that game. The Dark Souls games have item drops. This game has item drops, and with all the new players, I'll tell you something. It's very, very noticeable when you've got whole crews where the player hasn't even beaten more than a handful of bosses, and they're running around with gear they shouldn't have. And by their play style, a lot of times you can tell the new players. And I personally think that harms the game more than not allowing it. I know it's not popular. I know there's plenty of invader people who have beaten the game multiple times, and they want to make their easy bake builds because they want to get going. That's fine. It's not going away. It's in the game, so this is just me talking. There's no harm here. And I know it's probably going to get disagreed with. I know the game does have limitations, though, on some things. There's some things, obviously, you can't trade. So I feel like the system was in place to give people some options there and take away others. I don't think giving a wholesale freedom to trade Ashes of War, hundreds of crafting items, all the game's weapons. I don't know. I don't know what kind of stops they could put on there. Obviously, some things you can trade down. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is there. I just see it a lot, and that's a personal conversation. You can disagree with me. People will even say to me, "Well, the reason why Bloodborne died was because you couldn't trade things," and I've heard that before. The game, just didn't have the online following that the Souls games did. It did not have anywhere near the online following that Demon Souls did, in my memory of the situation. And after a few years, it's pretty hard. It was pretty hard to get games going in Bloodborne. I haven't played it recently, so I can only imagine that it's worse. My answer to that would be that yes, for some people that's definitely a part of it. I think also it's Bloodborne's netcode situation. We live in a world where Dark Souls 2 existed before Bloodborne came out, and Dark Souls 2 had a huge improvement to the tough netcode system that we were stuck with Dark Souls 1. Remember how patient we all used to be in the days of Dark Souls 1? Well, Bloodborne had a closer system to that, where things took a while. I think that more than anything led to the situation with Bloodborne, and not having player trades for items probably helped. But for a game as big as Elden Ring is, well, I don't know. It seems overly user-friendly for a From game. I don't know how else to say it like that. For all the talk about this game not having a good user experience, as a From Software fan, I feel like that's not kind of a joke. But anyway, it's not going back in Pandora's box. It's out. So it is what it is. That's just my one little take, having played this game for the last several months. But I'm enjoying it, and I hope to see what they have in store for us next. And I hope you do too.